Hey everyone, it's Jaeyoung here, and welcome to the Overwatch patch 1.35 overview. As usual, the link to the rundown video is down in the description below. Just a few changes this patch, so let's get to it.
Oh, this is my jam!
So last patch I mentioned that I'd like to see Blizzard have a go at changing up Reaper's Shadow Step ability, and well, here it is. So Shadow Step can now be used while in the air. The time to exit Shadow Step is reduced from 1 second to half a second. Reaper is now invisible for the entire time it takes to exit Shadow Step. Cooldown has been reduced from 7 to 6 seconds. However, the ability can now be stopped by Graviton Surge and Junkrat Steel Trap, which is pretty significant, especially the latter. And you can now teleport onto surfaces that would usually break, like railings. I've already covered this in some detail in my patch preview video, so feel free to check it out. But anyway, this is a great change to an otherwise very situational ability, which is in my opinion one of the worst in the entire game. Having the option of using Shadow Step while in the air adds a lot of cool flexibility to it. If you're fast enough at reacting, you can use it to recover from being knocked off the map. And yes, more often than not, you're going to be teleporting back to pretty much where you were initially knocked off right back into danger. But it's better than certain death. You can now also jump to peek over certain structures and activate your Shadow Step as Reaper drops back behind cover. Additionally, being able to exit Shadow Step half a second faster doesn't seem like much, but we're talking Overwatch here. Think about it, how often do you want to be standing completely still in a game for half a second? And as I've said before multiple times, having control over your hero is one of the most important aspects of the game, and any change that lets you have more control is always good. At the same time, Reaper is now also invisible as well as invulnerable for the entire time he is exiting Shadow Step. So if you hold down left shift while exiting Shadow Step to activate your Ray Form right after, the actual window of time you can be damaged is really quite small. Lastly, there's a bit of a quality of life buff in that you can now teleport onto breakable surfaces like railings. This makes using the ability less annoying, and you get to clear out railings with your ability. And as a side note, the visuals of casting Shadow Step are now less jittery while moving. All in all, this is definitely the way to go with changing out Reaper rather than just flat out playing around with his lifesteal percentage. Junkrat's Frag Launcher has been changed, with its projectile speed being increased from 20 to 25, but grenades now bounce less and explode sooner. So what does this mean, right? At first glance, it's like these changes seem like a straight up buff for Junkrat, right? This change coupled with his damage increase in the previous patch just makes his grenades have much more punch to them when you land that sweet direct shot. But while that's pretty great, I think it's important to think about Junkrat's kit as a whole rather than just his direct hit potential. So more than anything, he specializes heavily in area denial through spamming shots, and more often than not doesn't even have to be in line of sight of his targets to do so. The very nature of his frag grenades allows for a lot of interesting interactions with map terrain, such as bouncing them off edges or rolling them underneath objects. But with the reduction in how much they bounce and how early they explode, this part of his kit has been altered significantly, and to be honest, not really for the best. I mean, sure, right, no one likes dying from a random rolling grenade, but that's kind of the point. You have to respect the area Junkrat is targeting and make necessary adjustments to your positioning and keep yourself alive. So all in all, I'm kind of hesitant to call this a buff, and at the same time, kind of compelled to call it a nerf, but I'll settle for calling it an adjustment for now. Personally, I feel the increase in projectile speed is not nearly large enough to justify the loss in utility, but that's just me. Moving on, Doomfist Seismic Slam can now be targeted through railings. That's pretty good, I guess. The number of scenarios where this might ultimately benefit you really depends on the map and your playstyle, I guess. I don't play a ton of Doomfist, so I can't really recall a situation where I really wanted to target my slam through a railing but instead got blocked by one. Since railings pretty much just get destroyed by players on both sides anyway, this is just a nice little quality of life buff. Speaking of railings, SYMMETRA's teleporter placement and usage is no longer blocked by railings and other breakable objects. This is also a nice little quality of life buff to help make setting up more convenient and consistent for players. Additionally, players that use the teleporter now continue to look in their current viewing direction. So you might be thinking this has kinda always been the case, but this isn't really so much about where you're looking horizontally, but more vertically. So if you're looking up, you continue looking up, and if you're looking down, you continue looking down. Pretty simple. I'm gonna be honest, I never really thought about that little aspect of the teleporter before, so it's interesting to say the least. Also, because of that, you can now do this with a Diva Bomb. Kinda neat, eh? And of course, it's that time of the year where Overwatch Archives returns with its Storm Rising event from April 16 to May 6th. I always look forward to the Archives events every year because there's lore and it's super fun. Anyway, that's it for this patch. There are a few other quality of life changes that I didn't cover because they're just kind of small little nudges for the heroes. So thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you want to. Take care everyone.